little stripes on their legs that make them look a bit like a zebra, but they are actually the only close relative to the giraffe. The stripes are there to help them camouflage into their surroundings. They're so good at camouflage with such a tendency to hide that despite the fact that we know they're an endangered species, we actually have no idea how many okapi are left in the wild. They're too difficult to track and spot to get an accurate count. Looks like we're going to find another animal that's really good at hiding over here on our...
Oh, look at a hippo.
Right-hand side is a bongo hanging out up in the bushes there. Hiding in the bushes is the bongo's favorite place to be. Extremely shy and reclusive. We'll see if we can find any more as we continue up. Looks like we are going to find some more antelopes around here.
Oh, look, right in front of us.
The bongos are going to be a darker brown kind of antelope. Both males and females have horns that are angled back to keep them from getting tangled in the thick brush they hide in. The lighter brown antelopes without horns are called greater kudu. Only male greater kudu have horns that can get to be about 6 feet across. So we know that these are females. They've all got those white stripes that help them.
I was just trying to get the animals.
There are two birds over here on our left called saddle-billed storks. There's one standing,
That's
and when
cool.
they stand at full height, they can reach 5 feet tall with an average wingspan of 9 feet.
You got a good picture? Okay.
We'll start making our way out of the forest and into the Safi River, which is going to be home to animals who spend a lot of time in and around the water. So that's where we're going to be keeping an eye out around here. Start making our way down here. We'll find a lot of birds out here. You might find some vaguely hippo-shaped blobs in that back corner too. There are hippos back here. We're going to see if we can find any more that'll be easier to see. These large grayish-white birds out here are called pink-backed pelicans. They're actually the smallest of the pelicans, but their wingspan is still around 7 to 9 feet. There's another hippo hanging out over here on our left-hand side behind the island.
Behind the island?
They do spend the majority of their day in the water protecting sensitive skin from the sun. They can hold their breath up to 8 minutes at a time. They can sleep underwater too, relying on a reflex that allows them to head up to the surface, take a breath, and sink back down without waking up. They're considered to be among the largest and most dangerous land animals in the entire world. An adult hippo can weigh 5,500 pounds. They have one of the strongest bite forces out of any animal on the planet. They're incredibly territorial. They've been historically feared and respected just as much as the crocodile. And we're seeing Nile crocodiles here on our left.
Oh my god. There's the crocodiles. Wow.
There are two different categories of crocodile, freshwater and saltwater. The Nile crocodile is the largest of the freshwater kinds, but there are some saltwater crocodiles that can grow to be at least 20 feet long. We'll start making our way out of the river and onto the largest area of the reserve, the savanna. But before we see any animals out on the savanna, I'll introduce you to the baobab tree over here on the right. The baobab will go without leaves for 9 months out of the year to conserve water. They can store thousands of gallons in their trunks, which becomes very useful to the animals on the savanna during droughts. And for that, the baobab tree is also known as the tree of life. Looks like coming up over here on our right-hand side, we're going to find some animals animals out here on the savannah. Find some zebras as well as a giraffe. Giraffes are actually the only browsers out on the savannah, the only animals out here who eat mainly from the trees. Everybody else out here is a grazer. They eat from the ground and the grasses. But giraffes are the tallest animals in the world and the only ones who can reach most of the trees. So they're taking advantage of having no competition for their main food source. Different kinds of zebras have different looking stripes. We'll find Hartman's mountain zebras around here. Their stripes are very wide and spread out on their back ends, and they don't connect under their bellies. Hartman's mountain zebras are a more social kind of zebra. They stick together in larger groups called dazzles. Their stripes help them blend in with each other to make it difficult for predators to be able to single one of them out of the group to attack. We do also have some predators out here on the savannah. Look over to our left-hand side in the den up ahead. You'll find some African painted dogs napping back there. Also known as wild dogs, they are the most successful hunters on the savannah.
Oh, I see them in the
They
cave.
are wolves, just like
In the
domestic
cave.
dogs are. They're basically a different branch off the same tree. They are pack hunters like their ancestor, the wolf, and they're very good at working together. They switch up their hunting methods depending on the kind of animal that they're hunting. There's some sable antelopes hanging out in the back there on our left. The sable's horns are designed for defense. They're very sharp and curved back to stop predators from jumping on their backs. They're not a kind of animal you want to encounter in the wild. Definitely not one to mess with. In a choice between fight or flight, the sable antelope will always choose to fight. And they've been known to drive off lions. Gonna get a little closer to some of these giraffes around here. So since they have no competition for their main food source, they'll spend almost their entire day eating. Giraffes will eat for about 20 hours a day, and they only sleep for 30 minutes. Not all at once either. They just take little power naps throughout the day of about 10 minutes at a time. And they sleep standing up. Different kinds of giraffes do have different looking spots. We're finding Maasai giraffes around here. Their spots are irregular in shape and size with jagged edges. And they're actually the tallest subspecies of giraffe. They're on the taller end of 16 to 20 feet. And babies are born at around 6 feet. A lot of the animals we find out here are going to tend to stick together in groups. They do that for safety in numbers. These animals can't rely on camouflage for defense. There's just not nearly as many places to hide. So they stick together instead, and they protect each other. Over here on our right-hand side, back on the hill, you'll find some teeny tiny little antelopes called springbok. One of the smallest species of antelope in the entire world. Their size gives them a few different advantages, like being able to run at 55 miles an hour, putting them in the top 5 fastest land animals in the world. Also, up on top of that hill back there, you can find some wildebeest. Speaking of animals who stick together in groups, herds of wildebeest in the wild can number up to 1.5 million. And they stay in their groups as they migrate about 1,000 miles every year. A few more of these wildebeest around here, and giraffes too. A lot of the animals out here do look to the giraffes as a kind of alert system. Since they're so tall, they can see danger coming from further away.
That's so cool.
So when a giraffe out here starts running, usually everything else does too. else we're going to be able to find around here. When we see humans out here on the reserve, they do their jobs making sure these animals are as happy and healthy as they can possibly be. Oh, that's a mandrill we got to see for a second back there. Mandrills are the largest species of monkey in the world. Certainly the most colorful. Are recognizable by their super colorful backsides, as well as the male's bright blue and red noses. If you look back here on the right-hand side, you're going to get our first small glimpse of an African elephant hanging out back there between the rocks. We're going to continue through elephant country, see if we can get any better views of elephants.
The elephants? I know, we're going to see more.
They are very social animals.
You want me to hold you? Okay. What do you say, Chief?
When you find elephants in larger groups, you can safely assume you're seeing mostly females because they will stick to the same family groups that they were raised in their entire lives. So those family groups are going to be consisting of all the adult females and all of their young. Males split off from the family groups that they're raised in when they reach maturity. They're about 12 to 15 years old, and they tend to be a little solitary, either living a completely solitary life or forming smaller bachelor herds with the other males.
Wow.
And we don't know everything about how the elephant's social lives work, but that is what the research we do out here is for. So we're studying these animals' behaviors, figuring out how they interact with each other and the world around them. That helps us better understand how we can care for the animals who live here, but also protect their species in the wild. Our research gets shared with organizations all over the world, and they share their research with us in turn. You're going to see a family group of elephants over here.
Wow. That's so
These family
cool.
groups are led by a matriarch, who's usually the oldest female in the group. Usually the oldest, always a female. Okay, take a look over here. You see the elephant hanging out in the back? There's a baby following her. You see the little itty bitty. Look how teeny tiny. Absolutely the cutest little cutie pie, of course. These are objective scientific terms I'm using. And of course, anything would look absolutely itty bitty teeny tiny next to 10,000-pound mom. Baby elephants are born at about 200 pounds.
Oh my goodness.
Mom's giving herself a little bit of a dirt bath here. That's something they do to help protect their skin from the sun.
You see the baby? He's so teeny tiny.
Baby's got quite a lot more to grow, though. They reach maturity at about 12 to 15 years old, so they have the longest childhood out of any animal except for humans. In a circle around a flamboyance of greater flamingos here, these are the largest and lightest pink of their species, but no flamingo starts out pink. They all come out of their shells looking a bit like little gray fluff balls. The color comes from a mineral found in brine, shrimp, and algae called beta-carotene. The more they eat, the pinker they get, and they won't look fully pink like adults until at least 2 years. Yeah, circle around a mud wallow here. A lot of the animals out on the savanna have some pretty sensitive skin, and animals that don't have prehensile trunks to fling dirt and mud onto themselves will simply drop and roll in a mud wallow like this one. Take a look over here on the right. At the end of the road, that's an ostrich sitting down. You can just see just the head poking out of the ground. Just sitting down. Ostriches are the largest birds in the entire world. Hopefully we get to see a few more, or maybe that one a little closer as we continue. As I turn the corner around here, keep a real sharp eye out on the hills on the left. The animals who live here can be pretty good at camouflage. There's a cheetah lying down in the middle of the grass.
You see a cheetah?
Oh, I see him.
The fastest land animal in the entire world. Cheetahs can get from 0 to 60 miles an hour in 3 seconds.
Wow.
Their top recorded speed is 75 miles an hour. At speed, plus their camouflage makes them perfect ambush predators. That's how they hunt. And unlike most cats who are nocturnal, cheetahs are diurnal. They're most active during the day. That's so no one bigger or stronger than them will be around or awake to steal their successful hunts. Cheetahs are built entirely for speed, not defense. So they can handily outrun any threat that comes their way, but they're not going to be able to protect their food as well from scavengers. In a circle around a rock formation here called a kopie, these are usually the tallest points on the savanna, so predators and prey use them as lookout spots for potential food and potential threats. They'll hide in the crevices provided by the rocks for shade. There's some rhinos hanging out back there on our right-hand side, back behind the trees. The kind of rhinos we'll find out on the savanna are white rhinos, the largest of them all. An adult white rhino will weigh around 5,000 pounds. Just like the animals who live on the kopie are hiding. The rocks are a great source of shade, mostly because they tend to be a little more consistent sources of shade than the trees that grow out on the savanna. Now, over here on our left-hand side, you see these holes in the ground are warthog burrows. The warthogs are napping back here on the left, just behind the tree in the center. They look a lot like very hairy rocks. Warthogs are the largest burrowing animals in the entire world. Sometimes they dig their own burrows, but other times it's more of a finders keepers situation, and they steal them from other animals. Our rhinos are hanging out over here on the right-hand side.
See him? Yep, I see it.
Even when they nap and rest, the rhinos can be very aware of their surroundings. They actually rely mainly on their sense of hearing and smell to navigate the world in the first place because they're fairly nearsighted. Their eyesight's not that great. So they're always listening out for danger, and their cone-shaped ears can swivel back and forth to better catch the sound. We're going to head down into the Magadi Glen, which is home to the warden's post, but not home to the warden, because the post got taken over by a band of Nigerian dwarf goats. And the goats are just adorable little guys. But they're also very useful animals to have around on pastures. Goats have amazing digestive systems, and they'll eat pretty much anything. So they clear out the tougher vegetation that other cattle can't or won't eat. Kind of like a more sustainable, but also adorable version of lawnmowers. But as we exit the Magadi Glen, the safari is starting to come to an end. But we saw some pretty awesome stuff out there, and if you're wondering what you can do to help those amazing animals, the Disney Conservation Fund provides the funding to the research we do here on the reserve, as well as many projects and organizations worldwide. And here at Animal Kingdom, if you donate at any register in the park, Disney matches that donation dollar for dollar. But conservation migration doesn't have to end here on the reserve, or even on the African